Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. Well, have I got a treat for you today? I say it's a treat for you because you're going to watch me put myself through about an hour of pain. This is the horror of the iPad 2 screen replacement. Now this is a job I don't like doing at all, and this is actually probably the last one I'll do. I'm only doing this one because it's for a friend. But basically the technique for this is we've got to take this broken glass panel off and put a new one on. Now the job itself is very straightforward, however in practice it's a horrid job because unlike all those tutorial videos that you see on the internet, these things don't come off in one piece. They might do when it's not broken, but they sure as hell don't when it is broken. And this is quite a nasty one as well, so this is going to get messy. My procedure for this is, firstly, we use ordinary hairdryer to warm up the glue, and then it's literally a case of using prying tools to chip and pry all the glass off. There are a couple of pitfalls when doing this. There are a few components in a few key locations here, and also the webcam there, that are right up against the glass, and it's quite easy to break them if you're not careful. So DIYers, watch out, you have been warned. Right, I'm going to get on with this, so I'll see you on the other side. Right, let's start off with that. The heating of the glue makes things much easier, so it's really worth doing this. Some of the guys in the tutorial videos use heat guns. Personally, I think they're batshit crazy, but then who am I to judge? A heat gun will melt things in seconds. A hairdryer, as you can see, it took me a while just to warm this up, so it's a lot safer in my opinion, and plus you won't burn your own hand off. So with that done, I'm literally going to take my sharpest prying tool and jam it down the side, and hopefully I'll be able to get a good start to this, although I don't think that's going to happen given how badly shattered this is. The trick to doing this is you want to try and get the glass off without ruining the plastic edge, but it's easier said than done, I can tell you that much. In fact, I think this one might be a case of just chipping it off. Oh, another pro tip, wear glasses or goggles for this, and I'm not kidding. There are a few bits that you need to hang on to. The home button you'll want to hang on to, so once you manage to break that free, just put that to one side. I'll clean that up later. That's not held in with a cable, so don't worry about breaking it too much. The most important thing while you're doing this is make sure you don't go in too deep, because the LCD panel we're not replacing. So if you go in too deep with the tools and you scratch the panel, you've had it and you'll have to replace that as well. Not a mistake I've made yet, but I dread the time it does happen, which is why I'm quitting before I do make a terrible mistake. Oh, and one more thing, this is glass, it does burn and it does scratch and it does make you bleed. I've had it on several occasions, so right, first danger marker, or first two actually, the LCD, the Digitiser, that's the touch sensitive panel, the cable for that is about here in the bottom left. Now since we're replacing the Digitiser, I can just cut straight through that and it doesn't matter, but just so you're aware it's there. The second one you've got to watch out for is the Wi-Fi antenna is here. It's glued to the back of the glass panel. Now most of the time the glass comes off of it without any damage, however just exercise a little bit of caution, because if you cut through that it's a kind of ribbon thing, and if you cut through that then that's another thing you have to replace, and I have broken those before. My overall objective is to go around these edges and get enough of a loose edge to get my hand under the panel. Once I've done that, I'll literally be able to tear the thing off, and that's ideally the best way to do this, and then you've just got to tidy up. Right, at this point I'm going to take a quick break just to tidy up. Broken glass is part of this job. As I mentioned, you just have to get on with it really, but periodically it will make your life a bit easier if you take a moment to clear up and just keep your working space under control. If you do it all in one sitting and you have a complete mess, it's just twice as hard to clear up. This is a very official method of disposal I'm using here. Oops. I'm just doing this so the glass is just short of hot to the touch. There we go. Every time you warm it up it's just a little bit easier, so if you're having difficulty just try applying a bit more heat. You might find it starts coming off easier again. I'm going to go super carefully over this bit. I'm just going to take it off flake by flake because this is where that Wi-Fi antenna is. Once I've cleared that, I can be a little bit more vicious with it again. This one's actually favouring me a fair amount. Although it's badly shattered, they're coming off in nice large shards. Which sounds horrifying, I know, but it's actually preferable. Sometimes it will shatter into a million billion tiny pieces, and that's when this job becomes just, well, I was about to say when it becomes a chore, not that this isn't already a chore, but I have had these when it really is just a trial of endurance. Alright, I think I'm nearly at a point where I can risk a tear. Let's have a look. Oof. Alright, I'm going to cut that display cable. Sorry, not display cable, digitiser cable. Like that. very carefully getting my hand under there without cutting myself to shreds. And then we do this. Come on. Like that. Now, we've still got to go all the way around this edge, but with the panel removed, that gets a large chunk of it out of your way. It also exposes the LCD, so be aware of that. However, at least you can see exactly where the edges of the LCD are now, which means you're far less likely to not realise when you're too close. So, I'm going to give it a little bit more heat again now. Being a little bit more conservative with the heat, just to make sure I don't damage the LCD. I honestly don't know what kind of tolerance they have. Most electronics are actually surprisingly tolerant to allow for manufacturing processes, but not a risk I really want to take. Alright, again I'm just going to be slow and patient with this. I'm trying to move away from the LCD, so if I slip, I'll go straight onto my mat and not onto the LCD. Alright, we're reaching another dangerous point. The cable for the volume controls, the locking switch and the power button are dangerously exposed along this area. On the iPad 3 they adjusted the design here so it's not quite so exposed, but even still it's vulnerable. Ugh. So again, you've just got to make sure that you don't dig in, you're just looking to scrape. Just get your prying tool under the glass. Woohoo! Nearly had an accident there. I forgot about him. That's the smart cover sensor. It's slightly recessed, so you've got to go deep to catch it. However, if you do damage it, the smart cover won't work properly. Well, it'll work as a cover, it just won't be smart. There we go. Right, and that's the fella we need to look out for. I have actually caught that, I haven't damaged it, but just at the last minute there it just slipped. So that's how careful you've got to be with these things. And here's the other point where it's exposed. Sometimes these ribbon cables can be very tough, but sometimes you catch them at a strange angle. It's kind of like when you're trying to open a plastic package. Sometimes you tear and it just won't tear, and then sometimes you catch it and it just tears straight open. It's exactly the same here, so a little bit of caution and a lot of patience. If you're working on a 3G model, you've also got antennas along the top for the 3G. They're not too delicate, but again, just like with the Wi-Fi antenna, just be a little bit careful. The Wi-Fi edition just has holes there, so at this point you've actually got a gap you can get your prying tool under, which can give you a little bit of a start. This makes the top edge one of the easiest ones. If you manage to get a run going where it starts pulling up like this, you can roll with it, but just be careful, because you want to be careful of what else comes off with it. Especially if you're nearing a delicate point like I am now. We're coming up to the camera here. The camera itself isn't attached, but it's got a little metal plate around it. So you just want to be aware that that's there. And right under it is the light sensor. Ooh, easy, there we go. So we'll hang on to that. I'm going to come from the other direction now. Okay, and that's the worst bit over. Just going to tap that out of any shards of glass. And once again, I'm just going to have a quick tidy up. And by the way, yes, I am going to hoover up when I'm done. Right. Make sure you've got a nice smooth surface to work on now, because at this point, apart from the next step, all the glasswork stuff is over now. So you can get rid of all that horrible dusty glass and be free. Right, so I'm just going to give the iPad just another wipe down. I'm using a soft cloth. I'm going to be very gentle here so as not to scratch the LCD. I'm just brushing the glass off of it. I'm putting no pressure on this cloth at all, just wiping it off. Alright, now the next thing we need to do is just go around the edge and just make sure that the edge is completely smooth. Just remove any of the last bits of glue using either tools or nails or whatever. You need a completely flat surface. This is super important because if the surface is not, if the edge isn't flat, the new glass panel won't stay down, and that's when you have problems. Be a little bit careful if you're using your fingers, because every now and then you may just encounter just a tiny fragment of glass that you missed. Okay, right, now I'm going to remove the LCD so we can get to the other end of this cable. This is held on by its cable underneath. I can't really give you a good view of this, I'm afraid, but when you have a peer under, you'll see it. This is a locking connector, so watch out. I prefer to do it from the logic board. Just lift that bar open and then pull it off. And there's the LCD. That to one side. Once again, you'll usually find a little bit of loose glass in there that's fallen through, so I'm just going to get rid of that as necessary. Right, now the Digitiser cable, that's two ribbon connectors down here, so we'll just open their locking latches and then that will just pull out like that. So I'm just going to do a visual inspection now just to make sure I'm happy with this, because at this point I want to do as fewer retries as possible. every time you try and redo the reassembly of this, it will be a little bit worse. It's kind of like when you've done a drawing. The more you fiddle with it, the worse it will get. So do it first and do it right. Alright, I think we're ready. So we've got to do a little bit of a juggling act, because we've got to connect to the new Digitiser and have it all open at the same time. Now, my one has come pre-glued. This is very uncommon. This is the first one I've ever bought that's actually come with adhesive already applied. I'm going to go ahead and use the stuff they've applied, although it's a little bit sparse in the top right here. I'm not entirely convinced by that. Apologies, that's the bottom right. Yeah. However, the bottom right of the iPad is not an area that I normally have trouble with when it comes to sticking them down, so I'm going to run the risk on that and see how it pans out. If your one is not pre-glued, the method is double-sided tape. This is tissue-thin double-sided tape that you can buy on eBay for not very much. I think I buy it for like 3 rolls for £2 or something like that. And what I do, I use a Stanley knife to cut this into strips, and I place the strips around the entire edge of the iPad. Right, sorry for the unexpected screen cut there. I got caught out by my camera running out of space. So what I was doing, before we put on the Digitiser, I just need to quickly do some prep work with the home button and also this little plate thing that goes over the eyesight camera. So I've just got to remove a little bit of glass from here, and I can stick that onto the new Digitiser. So what you should end up with is the home button. It's got a little sort of square thing on it, and the actual button mechanism, which is this unit here. Now that will go into place. I usually try and stick them in place with the existing residue glue that's left over. Once everything is stuck down, it won't move, so I'll just put that there. And this fella, to be honest, the iPad could live without this thing. It's mainly there just to prevent light bleed to the light sensor, but I don't think the iPad would suffer any ill will without it. Doesn't cost anything though. Right, and this will sit on the eyesight camera itself, so I'm just going to position that in its place on the iPad, and that will just stick exactly into place when we press it all down. Okay, so with that all ready, I can go ahead and carry on removing the adhesive. Okay, right, so time is a factor now because we want to try and keep dust out. I'm just going to wipe across there. You'll never really know what dust is there until you actually lay it all down, which is the unfortunate thing. If it is possible to find out in advance, well, other than looking with your own eyes, I don't know how. However, the light in the room can be misleading. Often you'll have a look and you won't see anything, but in the light of the sun, you may suddenly realise that there's some there. But it's a risk you take when you do work like this without a clean room or some other kind of proper lab. Okay, right, so with that in place, we'll now put the LCD back in. Just make sure to feed in the Digitiser cable as you do so. Now we're reaching a critical juncture in a minute. This digitizer cable has to feed in constantly. If you don't feed enough of it into the base of the iPad, you won't be able to stick the glass down, and that's the biggest cause for not getting it flush. So keep a constant eye on it and just keep feeding it in whenever you have the opportunity to. Usually these do come with pre-applied adhesive, but I prefer not to use it because once you've stuck the cable in place you can't move it at all. So if you get that wrong, you've had it. Whereas because I keep it unstuck, I can just keep pushing that in until everything is in place. Right, now I'm just going to rest this over there, and with a bit of luck, hopefully I've got enough battery power just to turn it on and test it. No, lucky's not on my side today. I'm going to run the risk because I'm feeling confident. Personally, if I were you, I would check that the digitizer works before you do this bit. Otherwise you might be in for an unpleasant surprise. Right, so at this point, again, we're just feeding that digitizer cable in. This is the tricky bit. You need to kind of get it to fold in on itself in the side of the iPad. You don't want it to fold up on this bit because it won't sit flush. No real way to describe how to do this. There's simply a knack to it that took me quite a while to develop, actually. I think I've got it. Alright. Oh, I haven't got the home button though. Now we need to quickly get that up before the glue takes hold. I'm going to lift up by the opposite side so I don't ruin my nice cable management there. And let this be a lesson to me to glue the home button in place next time. Tell you what, it might not be. Got a tiny fragment of glass on that home button there, just stopping that from going in place. I'm going for it. Alright, I'm going to take this cellophane off so I can get a good look at what I'm doing. Don't bother trying to avoid fingerprints at this stage, because that's not a fight you're going to win. Oh. No such luck for me. I've got quite a big fingerprint and a hair stuck under there, so that's going to have to come up again. Now at this point you've got to be really careful. You don't want to break that glass. However, if you act quickly you can very cleanly lift it again. Come all the way up this time. I'm just going to do a complete second take on this. think we're looking better this time. I just hope this adhesive is going to hold for me. And what I'm going to do, just to help it along, I'm going to apply a bit of heat to it. Fixed iPad. Enjoy keeping the finger marks off of it again. Now, the acid test is whether it will last the night. Quite often you'll get a nice smooth finish and it will look fine, but leave it alone for a few hours and you'll find it will just lift up in a corner somewhere. So that bottom right where there was less adhesive, that's possibly concerning me, but we'll see. I'm just going to put that to one side now, leave it on charge, and just hope that in the morning that's still a-okay. So thanks for watching. If you're thinking of trying this yourself, I suggest you don't. It's not a pleasant job. Thank you very much. Bye for now.